Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam
Satatam kirtayanto mam
yatantascha dritavrata
yatantascha hridavrata
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
nityayukta upasate.
nityayukta upasate. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the important feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyotir, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam, remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas to those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert, spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul.
So Krishna has been telling us about who's a Mahatma, said the pure devotee, one who's surrendered to him. And what is this the pure devotee doing? Always chanting, hearing and chanting about Krishna, worshipping him, endeavoring with great devotion, worshipping the Supreme Lord, hearing and chanting his glories. And Krishna calls uh, the pure devotee, he calls the devotee great soul, Mahatma, one who surrendered to Krishna. So here Prabhupada is specifically saying a Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He has no other business. So he understands that God is a person, he has these wonderful, wonderful qualities, and he appreciates these qualities. When we like someone, then we keep on speaking about their good qualities. We like to glorify them. So the devotee, he's in love with Krishna, he's glorifying Krishna, praising Krishna. So Krishna's eternal form, transcendental qualities, and uncommon pastimes. Krishna's form is not material, it's not made of this material body of skin and bone and blood. No, it's Satchit Ananda. And his qualities are transcendental qualities. And the more one hears and chants about Krishna, the more we can revive our eternal loving relationship with Krishna. Each of us have a loving relationship with God, and we can revive this by hearing and chanting. So Prabhupada is specifically pointing out that the Mahatma, he understands that God is a person. He's a supreme personality. It's not that God is, some may say that God has no form, but Krishna keeps on saying he has a form, he has a transcendental form. And one who understands this is called the Mahatma. Hearing and chanting about Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam. So hearing properly, hearing from the devotees. When we have heard properly, we will be able to chant Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting about the names and glories and pastimes of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. And then when we have heard and chanted properly, then we will be able to remember him, remembrance. And the devotee is engaged in these activities of devotional service, and in the end, he knows he will he will be situated in his relationship with Krishna. As we have relationships with everyone here in the material world, we have so many relationships, no? Parents, children, friends, spouse, so many neighbors. Similarly, we each of us have a loving relationship with God, loving relationship with Krishna in the five rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Anyone, each may be differently inclined. And that is the goal, to revive our loving relationship with Krishna. And that can be done by the processes of devotional service, Krishna consciousness. And devotional service also includes fasting on special days like Janmashtami, Ekadashi. Today it's Ekadashi here. So, devotional service is happily performed. Susukham. It's happily performed. The devotee, he can live peacefully in this life, engage in devotional service under the guidance of a senior devotee, and engage devotional service anywhere, any position. It's not restricted that, oh, one has to be in this particular position or situation to be engaged in devotional service. Then anywhere, any position, anywhere in the world, one can perform hearing and chanting, worshipping the Lord, and actually become a great soul. Reading on, Jnana Yajnena Chapi Anye.
Jnana yajnena chapyanye
Yajanto Mam Upasate.
yajanto mama upashate
Ekatvena Prathatvena
ekatvena prathaktvena
Bahudha Vishwato Mukham.
Bahudha Vishwato Mukham. Translation. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. This verse is a summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, and he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. One of the out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spirit soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord.
So Krishna first, in the earlier verse, he spoke about the pure devotee, the Mahatma, always Satatam Kirtayantama, always engaged in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, worshipping him with determination. And then uh, now Krishna is speaking about others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge, uh, who worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second and diverse in many and in the universal form. So he's speaking about um, that one who understands that, who worships himself as the Supreme Lord. One may think that, well, I'm not supreme right now because I'm in this body, but I will become one with the Supreme after I get liberated. Or the second is one who says we can imagine God in any form and worships that. And the third is the worshipper of the universal form of the Lord, the Vishwarup, understanding only the material form of the Lord, that this universe is there, universal power is there, the universal energy is there, understanding God in that form and worshipping that. So there are these three categories, and out of which, because, just like for the sake of kind of understanding better, more better, and the best, like that. So the the lowest is understanding oneself as God and worshipping oneself as supreme. And this category is mostly many come under this category, thinking one thinks oneself to be the supreme Lord, and in this way one is actually worshipping oneself. But this is also a type of God understanding. This is also because understanding, oh, I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul. So it is a higher consciousness after all. It's removing one from the concept of the body. And then, of course, the second class is the one who says can imagine any form to be God, and or any demigod to be God. So that is the second one. And then the third is to understand that God is this universal form, that the universe is God. So, aham kratur aham yagya,
Aham kratur aham yajna.
swadhaham aham aushadham,
Swadaham aham aushadham.
mantroham aham evajyam,
Mantroham aham evajam.
aham agnir aham hutam.
Aham agnir aham putam. Translation. But it is I who am the ritual, the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. The Vedic sacrifice, known as Jyoti Jyotistoma, is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayajna mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to the Pitraloka or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitraloka, considered as a kind of drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna, and many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna because fire is one of the five material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommend in the Karma Kand, the division of the Vedas, are in total also Krishna, or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas.
So Krishna is, of course, very clearly saying who's the Mahatma. He's saying one who's always hearing and chanting my glories, worshipping me with devotion. He is a Mahatma, he's a pure devotee. Krishna wants us to come to that platform. He's saying, Krishna was saying that thinking oneself to become one with God, or to understand God as the universe, or to imagine any form of God, these are uh, preliminary understandings of God. But one has to raise himself to the platform of hearing and chanting always of the Supreme Lord. And then now he's saying, I'm the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, healing herb, transcendental chant, Om, butter, and fire. So one may say, oh, how Krishna has become all these things. And so then does that mean that Krishna, the person, does not exist anymore? No, all this is Krishna's energy. It's all Krishna's energy. Everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is Krishna's energy. So, like the fire is one of the energies of Krishna. It's one of the material elements, no? Earth, water, air, fire, ether. So, this is how we understand Krishna is all pervading. He's all pervading by his energy. It's not that Krishna, the person, has become the fire, you know. He is fire because it's his energy. The fire is his energy. This is how we understand. So those who are engaged in rendering devotional service to Krishna are to be understood to have performed all sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. So one who is actually hearing and chanting, remembering the Lord, worshipping him. All the scriptures say they have done all these Vedic sacrifices. The sacrifice which is recommended for this age is Harinam Sankirtan, Kali Yuga Dharma. Harinam Sankirtan is the Kali Yuga Dharma. Pitaham Asya Jagataho.
Pitaham Asya Jagato
Mata Dhata Pitamaha.
Mata Dhata Pitamaha
Vedyam Pavitram Omkara.
Vedyam Pavitram Omkara
Riksama Yajur Evacha.
Viksama Yajur Evacha. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier and the syllable Om. I am also the Rik, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. The entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word Dhata means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcels of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc., also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only towards Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rik, and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent. It is understood to be Krishna.
Oh, here we understand Krishna, the material world, the material energy, she belongs to Krishna. When we are saying, oh, there is a universal energy, so who does this universal energy belong to? Belongs to Krishna. He was saying, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. It's under his supervision. All everything is happening. So in the material world, we have so many different relationships, no? Mother, father, friends, spouse, children, neighbor, right? So many. So who are these living entities that we are having relationship with? They are also parts and parcels of Krishna. They are all souls, but part and parcel of Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying part and parcel of Krishna is nothing but Krishna. It doesn't mean that they become Krishna. No, Krishna is a separate individual. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. And we are separate individuals. But we are part of Krishna, his energy, just like sun and sunshine. For example, like the sunshine is entering the room now. So then we say, oh, the sun is entering the room. But it's not the sun that's come inside, it's actually the sunshine. That's the energy of the sun, not the entire sun. But we do say that, oh, the sunshine, the sun is here. You don't say the sunshine is here. So in that way, all this entire creation, this entire living and all the living entities are called Krishna, because everyone is all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. We are one of us Krishna's energies, the marginal energy. The material world is Krishna's material energy, the separated energy. So all the Vedas, by Krishna says, Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya, that by all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. to understand Krishna's position, to understand our position, self-realization. Who are we? What's our relationship with Krishna? We are part and parcel of Krishna. So even the Omkar, Pranava is called Krishna. Why? Because Krishna and his name are non-different. He's on the absolute platform. So the Vedas, all the hymns, because in the hymns the Omkar is prominent, it is understood to be Krishna. It is the impersonal representation of Krishna, the sound representation of Krishna, the Omkara. Krishna is on the absolute platform. He's not on the material platform. So there is no difference between his name and his form, his pastimes, his qualities. So when it's being mentioned that all living entities are also Krishna, we understand that we all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. So we are same in quality. Krishna is Sachidananda, we are also Sachidananda because we are part and parcel of him. So we also have the same qualities. Krishna Sachidananda, we are Sachidananda. But the quantity is completely different. Krishna is unlimited, we are minute. Krishna is Paramatma, we are Atma. We are Anu, Krishna is Vibhu. So we understand our position, we understand Krishna's position. Katir Bhrata Prabhu Sakshi.
Gatir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi.
Nivasa Sharanam Surit.
Nivasha Sharanam Shuhat.
Prabhava Pralaya Sthanam.
Prabhava Pralaya Sthanam.
Nidhanam Dijam Avyayam.
Nidhanam Vijam Avyayam. Translation. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Gati means the destination where we want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna. Although people do not know it, one who does not know Krishna is misled, and its so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of the strict respective methods, they reach different planets known as Chandraloka, Suryaloka, Indraloka, Mahaloka, etc. But all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna, but actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going on the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is the supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna, either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is the supreme living entity. And since Krishna is the source of our generation or the supreme father, no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation, and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes.
So Krishna is saying, first he was saying, I'm the here, the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire, the object of knowledge, the purifier, and syllable Om. I'm also the Rig, Sam, and Yajurveda. So, who is the creator of the universe? Krishna. Who's supporting the universe? Krishna. What is all the knowledge that we want to cultivate? It's to come to the point of understanding Krishna, object of knowledge. Vedescha sarver aham eva vidya. The object of all knowledge is to understand Krishna. And then Krishna, he's the one who's sustaining the the everyone. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. One eternal who is maintaining all other eternals. And that's Krishna. He's the one who's sustaining this entire material creation, all the living entities, the spiritual creation. He's the goal to revive our eternal loving relationship with Krishna. Not becoming Krishna, not becoming one with Krishna, but to revive our relationship with Krishna. The witness, he's the Paramatma in our heart, the abode, the refuge. He's the one who's giving us shelter. He's the one who's protecting us. And most dear friend, everything, everyone comes from Krishna. So everything, everyone is dear to Krishna. You know, like how the children are very dear to the father and mother. No? The children are very dear to the father. Similarly, each of us are children of God. He's our creator. So each of us is very dear to Krishna. He's always looking for our best interest. Krishna is our best friend. And best well-wisher. He's the source of creation. He's the one who creates the universe. He maintains it and then he destroys it. So he's Sarva Karanam. And we are all his energy. Krishna is a living person. He's a supreme living entity. He's a person. He's alive. It's not that God does not have any, consciousness or he's not living. He is. He's supreme living entity. And we are his parts and parcels. So Krishna exists eternally, and we, the eternal souls, also exist eternally as his part and parcel. So we may think or approach a material, a person in the material world for protection or a demigod for protection, but we should understand that the ultimate protection is coming from Krishna. So we can take protection of Krishna directly by approaching him directly, or any other living entity or anything else. That's indirectly. But the ultimate shelter is Krishna, whether we are taking Krishna's shelter directly or indirectly. Is that okay? Did anyone want to add or any question? Here, Prabhupada is saying, the residence countries or planets on which we live are also Krishna. It's Krishna's energy. He's the one who's created the planet. He's made these countries. He's maintaining everything. It's not that the planets have become Krishna. No, they're Krishna's energy. That's how they are Krishna. As we say, sun and sunshine. It's like that. So anything and everything, anyone and everyone belongs to Krishna. Tapami aham aham varsham.
Um,
Nigranami
Tapami
uts
aham varsham.
Nigran Nigranami utsrajami cha
Nigra nami utastajami cha.
Amritam cheva mrityuscha
Amritam chaiva mrityuscha.
Sat asakchaham Arjuna.
Sat asat chaham Arjuna. Translation. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky, and then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinction. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavana as two-handed Shyam Sundara playing on a flute are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, under whose order the sun is rising and setting? It's under Krishna's order. Krishna is he is the one who's controlling the rains. Immortality is the one who's sustaining our life, and he meets us as death. Time I am, Krishna says, and I've come to annihilate, you know. So, in the form of death, the form of time, Krishna takes us. Both spirit and matter belong to Krishna. So, and Krishna, he himself, person, he's in Golok Vrindavan. He's enjoying with the Brajvasis. So, all these are different energies of Krishna. The sun, the moon, the rain, uh, the, the entire material world is Krishna's energy. And we, the living entities, we are also Krishna's energy. And so that's how the pure devotee, when he sees Krishna everywhere because he understands that everything, everyone is Krishna's energy, belongs to Krishna. And where is Krishna? He's in Golok Vrindavan. He's having his Braj pastimes, his Shyam Sundar form with two hands, two lotus eyes, holding a flute in his hands with a peacock feather. It's not that because this material world and we living entities are Krishna's energy that Krishna does not exist anymore. It's not that just because there's so much sunshine coming from the sun does not exist anymore. Oh, the sun exists, the sunshine exists, and both are existing simultaneously. Similarly, Krishna and his energies exist simultaneously. So, when one says that he's seeing Krishna everywhere, he sees Krishna's energy, everything belonging to Krishna, and understanding Krishna is the supreme person and he's there in the spiritual world. Okay. Traividyamam soma papa papa.
Travityamam samapa puta papa.
Yagnerishva swargatim prarthayante.
यज्ञैर् स्वार्कतिं प्रार्थ्यन्ते
Te punyamasadya surendra lokam
ते पुण्य आशाद्या सुरेन्द्रलोकम्
ashnanti devyan devi deva bhogan.
अश्नन्ति दिव्यान् दिवि देव भोगन्. Translation. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delight. The word Trivedya refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to the knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna therein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the Trivedi. Actually, Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower quality of nature and thereby elevated to the higher planetary systems or heavenly planets known as Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, etc. Once situated on these higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet.
So Trivedya, the Sam, Yajur, and Rig. So a Brahmana who studied these Vedas is called Trivedi. One who studied all the four Vedas is called Chaturvedi. So but what is the goal of studying the Vedas? Krishna says, Vedas sarver aham eva Vedya. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. So by all study of all Vedas, one is to become a devotee of Krishna. But if one just takes up um, the Vedas just for being like scholarly, then that is not actually understanding the Vedas. Because the one who has actually understood the Vedas, he surrenders to Krishna. He takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna and he engages in devotional service for the satisfaction of Krishna. Because he's completely understood the knowledge. Oh, I'm not the body, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, I have a loving relationship with Krishna. Because that is the goal of the Vedas, to to help us understand our real position and to engage in devotional service. So devotional service begins by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. We chant Hare Krishna and we hear regularly from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, so that we can understand Krishna's position in truth, tattvataha. And when we understand Krishna's position, we understand our position, and we can go back home, back to Godhead. We don't need to continue to live here in the material world. The Vedas are not there just for us to say that, oh, I have studied the Vedas, but the Vedas are there to bring us to the point to engage in devotional service, to surrender ourselves to Krishna, to take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. And if we don't come to this point by the study, by taking up this tremendous effort of studying the Vedas, means we have not understood the Vedas. Because the Vedas also deal a lot with the Karmakand section, the section which um, deals with offering a lot of rituals and sacrifices to the demigods. But that is only to bring one, that will bring one only up to the heavenly planets. And the time in the heavenly planets that one can live there is also temporary. After the time finishes, one again comes back to the earth to again create new karma. But the goal of the Vedas is for to help us to take shelter of Krishna. So taking shelter of Krishna, we take shelter of Krishna by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Etam bhakva swargalokam vishalam.
Etam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam.
Shine punye martya lokam vishanti.
Krishne punye martilokam vishanti.
Evam trayi dharmam anuprapapanna.
Evam traidharmam anuprapanna.
Gata gatam ka maka mala bhante.
Yatogatma kama kama labhante. Translation. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieved only repeated birth and death. One who is promoted to a higher planetary system enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Ashyayata, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled upon achieving the ultimate goal of life and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then again coming down as if situated on a Ferris wheel which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on the higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge and never return to this miserable material existence.
So as we just said that the vast majority of the Vedas are dealing with this karmakand section, doing some pious activity, doing some worship of the demigods. And then what happens? One goes to the heavenly planets. Svargalok is still in the material world. The heavenly planets are still in the material world. So one can stay in the material world till the time the karma allows. It could be a very, very long time. But at one point, that karma will finish. And again, one will come back to this earth. So then it becomes like a cycle, going up, coming down, going up, coming down, like a Ferris wheel. Sometimes the Ferris wheel, one is situated up, sometimes comes down. So then sometimes one is in the heavenly planets. Then one, when the karma is finished, one comes to the earthly planet. But we have to understand it's still in the material world. Means still we don't have the perfect knowledge of our constitutional position. Then we can, but what is actually the goal? To get out of this material world, to revive our loving relationship with Krishna, to understand that we are not this material body. We are souls, part and parcel of Krishna. We have spiritual bodies in the spiritual world, and that we need to go back there. So the more we hear and chant, and the more uh, we go towards going, like the journey begins with the first step. No? The more we are going back towards the spiritual world. So here in this material world, even if one goes to the heavenly planet, still one has to die. There is still birth, death, disease, old age in the heavenly planets. Sure, it will be much more enjoyment, very much more luxurious, but still there's birth, death, old age, and disease is there. So instead of endeavoring to go there, one should try to endeavor to go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world, where there is no birth, death, old age, and disease, where there is unlimited ways of enjoying this ananda, this bliss is there. And there is the pure knowledge is there, and eternal. We don't change our bodies in the spiritual world. We have an eternal spiritual body. Is that okay?
Yes.
So by engaging in devotional service, we can go back to the spiritual world. Yeah. Ananyas chintayanto mam.
Ananyas chintayanto mam.
Ye jana pariyupasate.
Ye jana paryupasate.
Tesham nityabhiyuktanam.
Tesham nityabhiyuktanam.
Yogashemam vahami aham.
Yogashemam vahamyaham. Translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self realization, so that his only desire to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. It is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life.
Ananyas chintayantam. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion. So the pure devotees. Meditating on what? Not on some void or nothing or some light. No, on Krishna's transcendental form. To them, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. See, meditation is always supposed to be fixed on, mind is to be fixed on the form of Krishna. And Krishna's form is not material. We think that, oh, all forms are material. No, but the real forms, they exist in the spiritual world. They're transcendental. Krishna's form is transcendental. The material world is just a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So reality exists in the spiritual world. One may think, oh, because there is forms here in the material world, so means all forms are material. No, we have to understand this is just a reflection. The real form is there in the spiritual world. So the pure devotee, he's 24 hours a day, he's engaged in devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and fully surrendering to the Lord. So, a pure devotee, his only desire, he wants to achieve association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, devotional service brings us to self realization. All activities, hearing, chanting, worshipping, it brings us to self realization and helps us to associate with God. Imagine if one knows, oh, you have an eternal, you have a relationship with this such and such a powerful person. We all want to be related to powerful people, and we are related to the most powerful person. We all related to Krishna. We can revive this relationship by the process of devotional service. So associate with Krishna means being on the liberated platform. This is how the devotee engages 24 hours a day, hearing, chanting, worshipping. And such a devotee, by Krishna's mercy, he never comes back to this material world. Krishna, he fully protects the devotee. Also when Krishna sees that a devotee lacks something, then Krishna gives him so that the devotee can come back sooner to the spiritual world. Krishna protect. I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Krishna preserves our devotional service. And whatever we are lacking, he gives, he provides us. Is that okay? There's a pastime to
Yes.
this, that I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. There was one devotee, he read this verse and then he said, carry? Why should Krishna carry? So he canceled that word, and it's like he cancel and he wrote something else. And he goes out to bathe, and then two boys come to his house when he's not at home. One is blackish, one is whitish, and they're carrying a lot of groceries. And they give to the wife, and they say, oh, your husband has sent this. So she's like, oh, but where's my husband? Oh, he'll come soon. So she was like, oh, you're such beautiful boys. Let me cook something for you. And they were like, no, no, no. If your husband comes, he'll beat us. Look, he's already how he's beat us. And they show her, there's marks on their body. So then when the husband comes back, she's cooked the meal. Then she tells him, but why did you beat these two boys? Why did you do that to them? So he's like, I didn't beat any boys. And where did you get all the grocery from? She said, you're the one who sent it through the boys. He said, I didn't send any groceries. And then he realized it's Krishna Balaram who came. Then he cancelled out what he had rubbed out. He removed that marking. So Krishna actually carries. He carries whatever we lack. Krishna preserves our devotional service, whatever we have. So we'll stop here for today. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare